Happy NBA season, or NBA's Eve, and this will probably come out on NBA opening day tomorrow. It is time for predictions, preseason predictions. Of course, 90% of these are going to be wrong, and we're just going to have to see how the season develops and how the season plays out. But I just wanted to have some fun, give a few predictions, award predictions, and then conference final predictions, then finals prediction, and then ultimately the champion. So without further ado, here are some of my preseason predictions that are inevitably going to be wrong. Well, I feel good about a few of them. Let's start with, I don't want to start with the big award first, but let's start with, what am I going to start with? You know what, let's start with Rookie of the Year, because that's going to be, I think, a two-man race between Chet Holmgren, who of course missed all of his actual rookie season last year because of that foot injury, but it's going to be Chet versus Victor Wembanyama, and I'm going with Wemby on this one. If preseason is any indication, Wemby has clearly gotten stronger, more balanced, more used to, I guess, not used to yet because he hasn't played a regular season game yet, but, you know, he's used to the NBA play a little bit now compared to when he first was playing in Summer League. And I think this is going to be a really tight race. I think Chet is surrounded by just some incredible talent, some incredible driving kick talent in the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Chet as a floor spacer, as somebody who can attack a closeout, that handle looks like it's gotten a bit tighter too. Yeah, I just think this is going to be a close race, but I'm going with Wemby in this one. Sixth Man of the Year. I went with Norm Powell on this one over Emmanuel Quickley. I just think Norm Powell is really underrated. Dude averaged 17 points a game, mostly off the bench last year on nearly 40% shooting from three, and he'll still provide you good athleticism on the wing defensively. And I just think he's going to be key for the Clippers this year, and he's also going to fill in some because of the injuries. So I went with Norm Powell on this one. Most improved player. I kind of went back and forth between this one. Actually, I went back and forth between two people from the 2021 draft and one person from the 2020 draft. But I went with Evan Mobley as my most improved player. Decided to go out on a little bit of a limb here. I think Mobley's going to be really important if the Cavs want to take the big leap a lot of their fans are hoping for, even the most optimistic Cavs fans, if they want to see the leap that they hope for. I think a big part of that involves Evan Mobley, and in the preseason, they've already kind of leaned into him more as an offensive hub. I detailed Evan Mobley's growth last year in a video, and the Cavs really started to do that a little bit more, but this year, especially with all the shooters they have added to their roster now, I expect Evan Mobley to have a big year this year, right around 19, 10, 20, and 10 with 4 assists a game, and of course still providing his Defensive Player of the Year caliber defense. So I'm going with Evan Mobley on that one. Coach of the Year. You noticed I'm getting all the, not lesser awards, but I didn't want to just open up this video immediately with the sexy award picks like the MVP and all that stuff. But Coach of the Year, I'm going with Jamal Mosley on this one. I really like this Orlando Magic team. They are big across the board. The development that they have shown with their young players the last few seasons has been incredible, and I think Jamal Mosley is the perfect coach for that. The Magic had post-New Year, they were incredible. I believe they had like a 29-28 record to finish the season after starting out really slow, and they're going to be in the mix for a top 8 seed this year. I truly believe that. If you had seen my Eastern Conference tier video, I had them right around 9. Honestly, if they got the 7th seed, maybe snuck into a 6th seed, I wouldn't be surprised. And Jamal Mosley is going to be a big part of that, so he'll probably get votes for the Magic jump this year if they make that jump. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot because this award was just introduced last year, but Clutch Player of the Year award. Yeah, I wanted to do a prediction for Clutch Player of the Year because it is an official NBA award, so we might as well do a prediction for that. And look, it's going to be hard to predict this type of fucking award, especially with it being so young in its infancy, but I might as well make a prediction, and I'm going to go with Anthony Edwards. I think the Timberwolves are going to be in the mix in a lot of close games this year in a tough Western Conference. I actually am bullish on this Timberwolves team, And I think Ant is going to take another step, and in close games, it's going to be Ant time. And if FIBA showed you anything, is that Ant is not scared of the moment. Actually, as I said in my Ant video over the summer, Ant isn't scared of the playoffs either. And in crunch time, the Wolves are going to lean on him, and I think he's going to be great in those situations. De'Aaron Fox is going to be in the mix too, but, you know, let's mix it up a little bit. It'll be a battle between Ant and De'Aaron Fox and maybe a few others, a few superstars, so we'll see. But I got Ant winning it. Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not going to go with Jaren Jackson Jr., you know, Giannis or Brook Lopez. I'm going with Bam Adebayo. I don't think the Heat are going to have the up and down season that they had last year, especially shooting the ball. But another one of the big reasons why I think that is because the Heat's defense is just still going to be good, and Bam Adebayo is going to be a big part of that. He's been the best switching center in the NBA for the last, 3 to 4 years now? Maybe even longer. And Bam is always up there in the Defensive Player of the Year conversations, the all-defense teams, but I just think he's going to be in the mix this year and, you know, going out on a little bit of a limb here because everybody's going to pick Jaren Jackson Jr. and all that stuff. But Bam Adebayo is equally worthy of being in that conversation, and I think the Heat are going to be a lot better this year, regular season-wise at least, and Bam's going to be a big part of that. So I got Bam for Defensive Player of the Year. Most Valuable Player, Nikola Jokic, and I think this one's going to be pretty simple. I think the Nuggets are going to have the best record in the Western Conference, which is also one of my predictions I'm going to talk about in a bit. But now that Jokic has kind of proved the larger basketball audience who hasn't watched the Nuggets wrong, people are now going to understand how good Jokic is, and I think the Nuggets are going to have the best record, and Jokic is going to be the complete engine behind all of that. Of course, you know, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, that starting five is just so synergistic at this point, but it all revolves around Jokic just being this absolute anomaly offensively as a center. So I got Jokic for MVP. Best record in the Western Conference, I mentioned it earlier, I'm going with the Denver Nuggets for all the reasons I just stated. Best Eastern Conference record, and I kind of went back and forth between these two teams because I think they are in a tier of their own when it comes to the Eastern Conference. Obviously, the Heat are right there too, but that's more of a when they get to the playoffs and get to the dance, that's when I really have them in the contender tier type of thing. But I think throughout the regular season, I think the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks are going to be battling for that top record, and I'm kind of going to go with the Celtics on this one. And I think the top six, mainly, the top six in the rotation for the Celtics is going to be really good. I mean, obviously, the starting lineup of, I presume, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford. Like, that is a really good top six, and I think that should be the starting lineup. I wouldn't start two bigs with those guys. Not that they can't do it, it's just that I think I would rather just open it all up with spacing with Porzingis at the 5. But anyway, the Celtics have probably the best top 6 rotation in the league right now, just overall talent-wise, and while there are some health concerns, I do like some of the Celtics' other depth pieces like, you know, Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. There's value in bringing shooting off the bench, just lights out shooting off the bench over the course of a long regular season. And I think the Celtics are going to stack up a lot of wins that way. I think their overall roster lends to them playing defense more consistently every night, especially with some of the depth that they have. So I'm going with the Celtics slightly over the Milwaukee Bucks for having the best record in the Eastern Conference. Then we move to the playoff predictions. That's right, we're predicting playoff shit about 8 months away from when the playoffs actually start. But why not? It's preseason. Let's have fun. Western Conference, I have the Nuggets, unsurprisingly. And the other team I have the Nuggets facing in the Western Conference is the Golden State Warriors. And I know people are probably going to think I'm insane. I would just like to point out that when the Warriors were counted out from ever winning a championship again, I made a video about how the Warriors were contenders, and then later that year, they won the championship. I've said it a bajillion times on this channel. Steph Curry is one of the 3 best players on planet Earth. That Warriors trio is still good. They don't have the Jordan Poole distraction anymore. They have one of the best point guards of all time with them. Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga are going to step up this year as well. There is no distractions, no things to take away from the sole focus of this group that has won 4 championships, wanting to win a 5th one. And I have the Nuggets and the Warriors facing off in the Western Conference Finals in a matchup of 2 very unique offenses that play very different because their best players are anomalies when it comes to offense at their position. And then in the Eastern Conference, I think this will be a pretty obvious prediction for a lot of people, but I have the Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks facing off against each other. And these 2 teams have faced each other quite a bit over the last 4 to 5 seasons, and it's made for some good basketball. It's made for some legacy games. It's made for some just all-time wild finishes as well. And it's going to bring a little different flavor because Dame Lillard is now on the Bucks, and the Bucks have finally found a way to at least make their half-court offense very, very good when it comes to the playoffs because Damian Lillard just unlocks everything. And I'm going to do a video on the Bucks offense soon, but I just can't wait to see the first few regular season games with that group, with Damian Lillard now on board being paired with Giannis. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I never wanted to break up this duo. I still don't understand calls for it at times, but this wing duo is good. They've been to the conference finals multiple times, a finals 2 years ago. And now that this team is now shaped in the identity of Joe Mazzulla, because remember how late Joe Mazzulla had to take over as a head coach right before the season started. I think Joe Mazzulla has had a whole summer now to prepare, to shape the staff in his vision, to shape the offense in his way, and this Celtics team is totally geared to playing Mazzulla ball. This is going to be a new chapter in the Bucks-Celtics rivalry. I also forgot the Bucks. They have a new head coach as well. It's all going to be interesting and fresh in this new edition of the Bucks and Celtics playing each other in the playoffs. But who will win each of those conference finals? Well, my finals prediction, we are going to have the classic, and maybe some of it is leaning towards the mythology part of basketball for me, but basketball just in terms of X's and O's and star power, I got the Nuggets and the Milwaukee Bucks playing in the NBA Finals. A lot of people are going to bitch and complain about ratings as if they work for the TV industry, which get out of here with that. But Jokic versus Giannis, Jamal Murray, Damian Lillard, I think, one, Damian Lillard and Giannis are going to quickly, if they haven't already, just by on paper, establish themselves as one of the 2 best duos in the NBA, the other being Jokic and Murray. And just a big guard duo versus a big guard duo is going to be awesome. And Giannis and Jokic, for my money now, are the top 2 players in the NBA, with Jokic being 1 and Giannis being 2. They have their co-stars now. They have their third options that are also great players, whether it's, I think Aaron Gordon's the 3rd best player on the Nuggets, not Michael Porter Jr., but if you like Michael Porter Jr. too, that's your cup of tea. But just think of the starting lineups each of those 2 teams have. Some of the bench depth is a little more shaky, I think, on the Bucks side, but also shaky on the Nuggets side because they did lose Bruce Brown, and they're going to rely on some younger players to take leaps this year to fill in for the vets that left off the championship team last year. The Bucks won the championship in 2021. The Nuggets won the championship last year. These are the 2 best players in the sport right now. Giannis finally has that co-star, that true co-star, somebody that's his peer. Jokic and Murray had legendary playoff runs that led to a championship, and they established themselves as the best duo in basketball. You can argue if, obviously, Damian Lillard, I think, is better than Jamal Murray, but if you're talking about 2-man games, Jokic and Murray are the best, and Giannis and Dame are going to be right there, and there's going to be fireworks, high-powered offenses. I think there's no reason the Bucks shouldn't be a top 5 offense. They have to be a top 5 offense. That is a prerequisite for this team. If you are not a top 5 elite offense when you have Dame and Giannis and Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez on your team with all that shooting that they have, I think that's a disappointment. The Nuggets obviously will continue to have the best offense in the NBA, one of the best offenses, because they have Jokic first and foremost, and then of course the two-man game, and then all the stuff that trickles down off of that. I think it'll be an awesome series. I think for the Bucks, the change in identity from being this complete monster defensively, but having a shoddy, shaky half-court offense in the playoffs, those days are over. I think this flip is much better for them, just going in on offense and then, make your defensive adjustments in the playoffs. You'd rather make defensive adjustments than having to figure out all series how to unglue your offense. And I think these two teams are just ripe to face each other, and I think it would be fun. So those are my predictions. They're inevitably going to be wrong, but give me your predictions down below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Just reminder, I don't hate your team. I don't hate your player if I didn't mention your team or player. So, yeah, can't wait to get the season started.